Chapter 26. Beheading Pang Tianlong. Pang Tianlong stabbed out with his sword. The long sword seemed to be covered with a red true chi, carrying a great killing intent straight at Gu Hai's face. Song King Shu, what are you stopping me for? Chen Chonchen glared. Don't be in a hurry. The helmsman didn't ask you to help. What are you in a hurry for? Song King Shu sneered. Chen Chonchen glared angrily at Song King Shu, and on the other side, Gao Xianzi was also anxious for a while, but, after all, he was too far away. True Qi attachment, second level of the innate realm, the gnarled man in the crowd said with his eyes slightly narrowed. Many of the surrounding cultivators were staring at Gu Hai, but no one was blocking or helping. The sword was quick and reached Gu Hai in the blink of an eye. Watch out, Snake Woman said in horror. As the long sword was here, Gu Hai's eyes narrowed and the coldness flashed in his eyes. Boom! The foot violently stepped down, and a heaven-shaking sound was brought out between the stepping on the ground, shaking everyone's heart. Boom! Then with a second loud sound, Gu Hai's fist actually blasted Pang Tianlong's abdomen. It was too fast and too powerful, and with one punch, Pang Tianlong's figure immediately flew backwards like a cannonball. Ah, boom! With a loud bang, Pang Tianlong impacted on top of a stone wall to the side, and a large amount of rubble crumbled. What? Impossible! Song King Shu steeply exclaimed. Helmsman, Gao Xianzi's eyes also widened. What was Gu Hai's cultivation level? Everyone understood, the first level of the innate realm, but that Pang Tianlong was actually not a single match for Gu Hai. That speed just now was too fast. Pang Tianlong didn't even have time to react before he was punched in the abdomen and sent flying. How much power and how fast does that have to be? How is this possible? How could the first level of the innate realm have such power and such speed? Chen Chonchen also stared wide-eyed. Senior brother. The crowd of Song Armor sect disciples shouted at once. Pfft, no, it's impossible. You've only just stepped into the innate. How can you be my opponent? Pang Tianlong was paralyzed in the ruins, looking at Gu Hai in shock. The power of that punch was too great. So great that Pang Tianlong felt as if his internal organs had been shattered, and his entire body instantly lost its strength. A group of Song Armor sect disciples were about to pounce on them, while Gu Hai turned his head and said with cold eyes, Song Armor sect wants to get involved. Make an enemy of my One Piece Hall. Gu Hai's eyes glared, but the crowd of Song Armor sect disciples abruptly changed their faces and stopped on their feet. Impossible. Gu Hai's strike just now. It should be the power of the third level of the innate realm. No. At least the third level. But he's only just in the first level. Song King Shu stared. External power. Because of Gu Hai's cultivation of external strength. External strength refining the body. In the Haoshan realm, his physical strength is already incomparably strong. Chen Chanchen's expression moved slightly. Among the crowd, the gnarled bearded man's eyes narrowed slightly as he stared at the place where Gu Hai had just stepped on. That one spot in the ground, but several stones had been shattered by that one foot. First level of the innate realm. What a strong physical body. How did a Haoshan realm cultivate? The gnarled man muttered to himself as he looked at Gu Hai, a hint of gloom flashing in his eyes. Gu Hai picked up Pang Tianlong's long sword and slowly walked in front of Pang Tianlong with an icy look in his eyes. Pang Tianlong was also looking at Gu Hai in shock. He originally thought that Gu Hai's strength was definitely not good as he had just entered the innate, but who would have thought that it was so strong? He actually didn't have the power to fight back at all. Senior brother, help! Senior brother, senior brother! Pang Tianlong shouted in terror as he watched Gu Hai getting closer and closer. However, the Song Armor sect disciples at this moment looked at each other, each with ugly faces, not daring to step forward. Gu Helmsman, Pang Tianlong has offended a lot. Please forgive me. Gu Helmsman. A Song Armor sect disciple opened his mouth and anxiously said, You are not qualified to speak to me. Just now he wanted to kill me. Why didn't you say anything? Gu Hai didn't even turn his head back and said coldly, "But I have a personal grudge against him, if you guys want to help him. It's a grudge between the One Piece Hall and the Song Armor sect. Get out of the way," Gu Hai said coldly. The crowd of Song Armor sect disciples were shocked and angry. But just as Gu Hai said, the crowd could do nothing for a moment. "Senior uncle, save me. Senior uncle." Pang Tianlong turned to Song Qingshu for help in terror. Song Qingshu's face changed slightly. "Helmsman, all the grudges are this snake woman. Why bother for a snake woman?" "Song Qingshu." Gu Hai interrupted Song Qingshu's words with a cold shout, turning his head to look coldly at Song Qingshu. Song Qingshu's face was slightly unsightly, but still spoke. "Helmsman." Pang Tianlong was just momentarily confused. Gu Hai smiled coldly and said, "Song Qingshu, you just said that you have no right to control him. What? If you have no right to control him, do you have the right to control me?" Song Qingshu's face stiffened. "You said that you can't be his master." "What? You can be my master," Gu Hai said in a cold voice. Song Qingshu's face went blank. "My subordinate doesn't dare." "It's best if you don't dare. Stay to the side and don't talk rubbish," Gu Hai said in a cold voice. After saying that, Gu Hai no longer paid attention to Song Qingshu, whose face was blue, and turned to look at Pang Tianlong once again. Pang Tianlong looked at Gu Hai in horror, not wanting Gu Hai to force his senior brother to not dare to come forward, and his senior uncle to not dare to save himself with just a few words. It was only at this moment that Pang Tianlong realized how terrifying Gu Hai was. "Don't kill me, Servant Master Gu. I was offended much earlier. It's my fault. It's my fault. Please don't kill me," Pang Tianlong screamed in terror. Gu Hai's long sword pointed at Pang Tianlong and said coldly, "Sometimes, I, Gu Hai, will be soft-hearted. Just like when I see this snake girl being abused by you, I can't bear to look at it, and I will save her as much as I can. That's just that my humanity hasn't been extinguished yet. And I'll cherish this humanity, but more often than not I'm more rational, and those who deserve to die are people who I won't be able to keep, and won't be soft-hearted either." There. With a sword, Gu Hai instantly pierced into Pang Tianlong's skull. "No!" Pang Tianlong hissed up in terror. The crowd of Song Armor sect disciples were even more anxious. But even though they were anxious, no one dared to come forward to stop them until blood and **** burst out. And only when everyone looked at Gu Hai did they reveal a hint of horror. In the battle between the two countries in the past, Song Qingshu had always looked down on Gu Hai from above. Even if Gu Hai had become the helmsman, Song Qingshu didn't take him as a threat. After all, Gu Hai's cultivation was too weak. But at this moment, Song Qingshu's heart was in a state of horror. The promise that he had promised the patriarch to quietly kill Gu Hai a few days ago seemed to have suddenly wavered at this moment. Looking at Gu Hai's back, it seemed to be incomparably tall, so tall that he was not his opponent at all. How is that possible? Illusion, Song Qingshu hissed in his heart as he clenched his fists. Gu Hai killed Pang Tianlong, turned around and walked to where the snake girl was, slowly picking up the snake woman. His eyes roamed over the crowd of cultivators around him. Wherever his eyes went, many cultivators unconsciously took a step back. Gu Hai revealed a cold smile and slowly walked towards the crowd. The crowd made way for Gu Hai to leave. Gao Xianzi and Chen Chonchen immediately followed. Song Qingshu glanced at Pang Tianlong's corpse. His face was in an ugly state. Biting his lips, he also followed. The snake girl was currently being held in Gu Hai's arms, although she was bruised all over her body, but as if she couldn't feel the pain anymore. Looking at Gu Hai's face, her eyes were already completely wet. Her head slowly leaning against Gu Hai's arms, feeling this chest that caused her to gain warmth in her despair. Gu Hai, 4 people, and the snake slowly walked into the mountains and forests, while the surrounding cultivators but no one went forward to stop. Looking at the back of the four people, the eyes of all the cultivators are complex. All right, a useless snake servant only. Let's go. Let's continue deeper. It's been delayed for so long. Let's continue towards the inside. The hundreds of cultivators quickly dispersed as well, continuing to explore towards the interior of this small world. A group of Song Armor sect disciples collected Pang Tianlong's corpse, one by one. Their faces turned ugly for a while. But after a moment's thought, the one at the head of the group chased after Gu Hai together in the direction he had left. In the blink of an eye, the place was empty, leaving behind a group of men dressed in grey robes. About 30 of them. And the leader was that gnarled bearded man. Rudder Master. Was that the new Water Rudder Master just now? A subordinate said with an ugly face. The gnarled big man's eyes narrowed slightly as he said, "It seems that it's the Hall Master's newly appointed right." Rudder Master. Then what now? Another subordinate curiously said. "Don't worry, someone will help us out." The gnarled man revealed a cold smile and said, "By a small stream, at a small tent." Gu Hai had stockpiled a large amount of substances deposited into the token's small space before he set off. And at this moment, he just happened to take out the medication and gently apply it to the snake girl. "Thank you, benefactor," Snake Woman said gratefully with tears in her eyes. "You first recuperate your wounds. It's rare that I have a soft heart." Gu Hai sighed slightly. Yes, the Snake Woman was also exhausted at this moment and slowly closed her eyes and fell asleep. Gu Hai exited the tent. Outside the tent, only Gao Xianzi stood guard. Helmsman, Chen Chonchen and Song Qingshu have all gone out to scout the terrain, and will be back in the evening, Gao Xianzi respectfully said. Gu Hai nodded. Rudder Master, Song Qingshu doesn't seem to be quite right. Even if he saw death earlier, he even fell on Rudder Master. I'm afraid, Gao Xianzi was worried. I know, but he's a Water Rudder disciple after all. I need to give him some chances. If he's stubborn, then I won't be blamed. Gu Hai shook his head and said. Yes, Gao Xianzi nodded and said. A valley not far from where Gu Hai was. The gnarled man from earlier was however standing with Song Qingshu. Earth Helmsman. That's how it happened. I didn't expect Earth Helmsman to be in the crowd just now. Song Qingshu said respectfully to the gnarled bearded man. The gnarled bearded man looked at Song Qingshu and said, Patriarch Song Jia asked you to kill Gu Hai. Yes, but I'm a little worried. I don't know why. Song Qingshu was a little worried. It seems like he has already told you. Then you should organize the Song Jia sect disciples and prepare to surround and kill Gu Hai. The gnarled man said indifferently. Huh, didn't your sect leader tell you? The position of Water Rudder Master might be reserved for you, the gnarled man said indifferently. What, me being the Water Rudder Master? How is that possible? I'm sure he's also told you about the Covenant. The Song Armor sect helped us with all their might, and all they got was the Water Rudder Master position. And now that you've joined the One Piece Hall, this Water Rudder Master position is naturally reserved for you. You should know, after heading to the One Piece Hall headquarters and registering your name, what benefits will the Lord of the First Rudder enjoy? Looking at Song Qingshu, the gnarled bearded man wore a gloomy smile. Song Qingshu's eyelids fluttered furiously. Think for yourself. I don't have anything to lose anyway. I won't say any more. Remember, I didn't come looking for you either. The gnarled bearded man stared at Song Qingshu and sneered coldly. As he spoke, the gnarled bearded man stepped into the forest and disappeared. Song Qingshu, however, stayed where he was, his face shifting with uncertainty.